Hi, everybody.
Hello.
It's great to see you. And this group grows bigger every second. People sneak in from the back. It's very complimentary to everybody in the town of Tyringham, which is a great place to live, as you all know. I was asked to say a few words, and that's an easy statement to write. But when you have to think about how do I say a few words that make any sense, it's a little more difficult. Some of us here were in various wars of our country, and I'm an old poop by now, over 100. And so my service was in World War II, which was some years ago. And I was very lucky. I was one of the lucky ones. They used to say in the Air Force back in the beginning that 1/3 died in training, and 1/3 died in combat, and 1/3 survived. And I must be part of that 1/3. So I'm sort of lucky. I was hoping to be a fighter pilot, and my father somehow wangled a appointment to West Point for me, and through Fritz Trudeau, the congressman in New York, and I turned it down and went and volunteered for the aviation cadets. But there were so many people volunteering at that time that they didn't have any room. So they suggested that I go off into the civilian pilot training course, and which was at Tufts College at Concord Field in New Hampshire, and learn how to fly. And that's what I did. And I got 100 hours, and I turned out to be great fun. We were on skis, which gave us quite a lot of leeway. When we came in for a landing, the instructor on the ground couldn't tell whether I was doing a good landing or a bad landing because of the angle of the skis, which was rather fun. But those Wacos that they had could do everything, all kinds of acrobatics, loops and everything else, and Immelmans and what have you. That was an interesting experience. And then my father saw me in this green uniform and asked me what the devil I was doing. And so I went to the Air Force and told them, asked them what was going on. And then I got married to Judy, as most of you know, and unfortunately she died last year. But we had a good marriage. And I went in down to the Air Force, and they said that I had been to college for a year, and therefore I had to be a navigator. So after all that 100 hours doing loops and stuff, I wasn't allowed to use any of it. But that's the way the armed services work. And I went to navigation school. We formed up our crews, bomb crews, right over here in Westfield at the airfield, just between Westfield and Springfield, Westover Field. And one rather amusing thing, of course, one of the things we learned how to do was to do celestial navigation, which of course is the oldest form of navigation, invented by the Arabs or somebody back in, I don't know when. And, we had a last mission. That was a navigational training mission. And we flew out of Westover Field, out over the Atlantic, way out about 500 miles, taking fixes of the stars. And going out at night, you need 3 stars for a fix. And they give a line at right angles to the star. And the North Star gave a course line, east and west. And I used the North Star going out to this pair of coordinates, about 500 or 600 miles out, and then returned and came back. And I shot another fix, but this time I couldn't use the North Star, so I picked a star called Antares, which is in the Scorpio, right near the South Pole, but it gives similarly an east-west line. And the fix was very big, and I couldn't understand. So I crawled back up into the turret with this little beautiful sextant. I looked out to the south, where Antares was within about 10 degrees of the South Pole, and saw what I had done. I had photographed the reflection of the wing light. Made a rather difficult fix. I didn't tell anybody on the airplane. Steve off the coast. I went back up, put the light on, and I called up Frank, the pilot. I said, Frank, hey, all of course about 12 degrees to the north. We go back to Boston. And we came in right over the State House. But it was a somewhat wakening up event. Well, actually, during the war, we never used celestial navigation. When I was in Europe, everything out the window was houses, streets, towns, villages, mountains, roads, so many of them that you can look out the window once you get to know it and tell where you are. And of course, everything is coupled with what's called dead reckoning, which is your direction, your drift, and speed. Couples to tell you how you were going. And that's what we did. And eventually I became a lead navigator, which surprisingly enough at the age of whatever I was, 20 or something, meant that you were telling these other guys where to go and what to do. And that was very good for your ego. And, I don't know how good it was for the Air Force. And we, on 231 missions over Europe, and was very lucky to survive. Sometimes you like to think of things that amuse you. We went on, I went on rest leave to Rome, and they flew a bunch of us up to the Rome airfield, and there was a little shack at the end of the field where they unloaded the air crews. And we were in Rome eating good food for a week. At the end of the time, we went back out to the field and come back to the base, and they were short of parachute. And the Air Corps didn't want to fly without having parachute, so I was told to spend the night. So I spent the night in Rome, and was told to go out. They'd come and pick me up the next day at the main airport. That was a very fancy building that Mussolini had built at the airport, big glass windows. And I hitched a ride in the back of the truck. I was the first lieutenant at the time, I think, and walked in the building. And without a question, I was the youngest and the most low-ranking officer in the place. Everybody in there was a general or a full colonel or something like that. And they were divisional commanders and what have you. And English, Americans. And every now and then a little plane would pull up at the window and they would announce with General so-and-so with his staff, please report to gate 1. And I pulled off into a corner somewhere, stood there gracefully waiting for Major Richards, who was the officer who was coming up to get me, would arrive. And suddenly we heard this roar, and this 4-engine bomber pulled right up to the window and practically blew the building down. It was Major Richards, and they announced, Lieutenant Alsop, please report to his aircraft. I had to walk across that building floor in front of all those generals and what have you. I thought they were going to be looking at me, but they weren't looking at me. They were looking at the airplane, because the airplane had a pretty picture of a beautiful girl on the nose. Her name was Baby Boots. And, anyway, I got on board a 4-engine bomber to fly 2 hours back to the base, which is really extraordinary what went on in the war. We were lucky. We finished up our tour of duty, and we tried to just bomb oil refineries and station marshalling yards and things of that sort, which were legitimate military targets. And it was a little different than what was going on in the RAF and the 8th Air Force. When the war was over, after a while, we flew back down to Toronto in the south of Italy. We told to go home, and I was with my old crew, no longer with the lead crew, and we flew off from Toronto to go to Marrakesh in the west, southwest Africa. And halfway there, we lost an engine. It was a beat-up old B-24 Eagle Wars. And we went into Algiers and parked at the end of the line. And that night, luckily, the local boys took us into town and gave us a lot of drinks. So we came out to the field afterwards, rolled up our sleeping bags, and went to sleep on the ground under the plane. And when I woke up in the morning, my clothes were gone. And there wasn't anybody in the crew that had any clothes. They were all gone. And the Arabs had come over the fence and saw a golden opportunity and run off with our clothes. So I jumped up and kicked the pilot away because I assumed they'd played a game on me. But not at all. They didn't have any clothes either. So we had 10 naked B-24 veterans running around in the African desert for a while until we finally found a B-4 bag in the back of the plane with some clothes. And they rescued us. But you have sort of amusing things that happened, and you had sad things that happened. And people you knew died, people that you knew survived. And I was one of the very lucky ones, and survived. And then when we got to Marrakesh, half the people there flew off into the mid-Atlantic to come to Maine, and the other half went down to Dakar to fly across to Brazil, which was only the shortest distance, really. And that's the way we came home. And as we lined up to get ready to go, the nose gunner dropped my sextant. Well, I hadn't used the sextant all year I'd been over there, but I had boned up on it for flying home, and it landed with a crash on the cement. So Frank, the pilot, called me and said, "Can we do it without Robert?" I said, "Well, we should try." It's the best we could do. And Marrakesh is north of the equator, about 10 degrees, and we were flying south from Dakar is north, and across the equator, and then out the other side, and then across to Brazil. And I thought, well, the Earth's rotation is a certain way, and it causes a slight angle to the air that's moving down towards the equator, so that there's a very little drift from Dakar through the equator to the town. And I figured the wind would be right behind us, so that would be very good. There would be no drift. We could maybe do it by direct navigation, just straight. Wind, speed, direction, drift. And that's what we did. There was a huge front over the equator. They were only up to 30,000 feet. And our plane had no oxygen, so we couldn't go above 10. And we went right through it at that altitude. Came out the other side. And eventually headed towards Brazil. It's a little hairy there because the coast of Brazil all looks alike. It's all one palm tree after another. And you're not sure whether to go left or right when you hit the coast. But we found a radio station, and we're lucky. I came out home. And that's I lived on the trees till one evening, which was this is what a bomb map looks like, navigation map, with all the sites of the flag where the defensive guns are. And we have to avoid those in order not to get your what have you shot off. Anyway.
An unscripted moment that's about to happen. Our selectman, Michael Curtin, is here to make a little presentation. Mike, speaking to you.
Good heavens, hello, Mike. How are you? Well, I'm fine. Make it short because I'll fall flat on Mike.
In 1989, this King was issued to Melissa McIntosh.
Oh my goodness.
And since then, it has been passed along to the eldest person.
Oh. I have to find somebody else.
Unfortunately, Robert, you're at the top of the list. So without further ado, on behalf of the Tyringham Board of Selectmen and the town of Tyringham, I issue you the Golden King.
Wonderful. Well, it's a great group to look at, and thank you all for coming. Where am I sitting? Up there?
Oh,
Whoa.
I'm scared.
You see that?